guys, it's Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. So today's video is all about foundations, how to color match, how to find your undertone, different foundation formulas, which one is best for your skin type. So if you want to learn a little more about foundations and how to find the perfect one for your skin, then please keep on watching. So in today's video, I have a lot to cover, so I'm sorry in advance if it's very long. I'm gonna try to edit it so that the video's not as long. Before you even start going into foundation, before you pick out your foundation, you need to know your skin type. If you have not seen my skincare video yet, I talked about how to find your skin type in that video, then it will be linked up above. You also need to know about primers before you pick a foundation, because what a primer does is that it helps your foundation adhere to your skin, and it creates kind of like a buffer between your skin and your foundation. So if you want to know about primers, which you should before picking out your foundation, I also made a primers 101 video that will be linked up above. Once you have figured out your skin type and once you have a good primer, the first thing about foundation is the different types of foundation. There are tons of different foundation formulas out there. I'm just going to discuss the main ones that I've seen. So the first would be liquid foundation. Liquid foundation is very versatile and it suits a lot of different skin types. Liquid foundation, at least the ones I've tried, I've noticed tends to be more longer lasting than powder or loose powder or stick. The next type of foundation is powder foundation. Powder foundation, you can build up the coverage. It's usually lightweight if you want to cover certain spots or to have it on the go to put on top of your actual liquid foundation or stick foundation, whatever. So powder foundation has buildable coverage, but you're not going to see the same coverage that you would with a liquid foundation. Next type of foundation is like a loose or a mineral foundation. This is good if you have really oily skin because it will mattify the oils in your skin, so you'll look more matte and less oily. Also has a buildable coverage. The last type of foundation is a stick foundation. These have become more popular recently. However, with stick foundations, they can become cakey if you don't pick the right one, and stick foundations are also really good for people who have normal to dry skin because the actual stick foundation has a lot more oil than any other foundation because the oil in the foundation keeps it from getting dry. If you have really oily skin, maybe a stick foundation might not be good for you because it tends to slide and be a little more oilier than a liquid or powder. That is just a quick summary of the different types of foundations. I discussed the main ones. Like I said, there's a ton of different formulas, a ton of different types of foundations out there. I just kind of discussed the main ones that you will see when you're shopping. Next thing that you need to know has to do with color matching and your undertones. A lot of beginners and people in general are scared of foundations because of color matching. I think that that's the main thing, the color matching. A lot of mistakes that I've seen with color matching is people will like try to match it to their like arm or their skin or whatever, or sometimes they'll try to match it to their face. Yes, you can match it to your face, but that wouldn't be the best option because a lot of people tan differently and their face is a lot lighter than their chest. So you want to try to match it to your neck, because that is the first thing that people will see. Like if you have a really white foundation and you're tan on your neck and on your chest, it's not gonna look right, it's not gonna look blended. So personally, what I do whenever I'm color matching is that I will take the foundation, take some on my hand or whatever, the tester, and then swatch it on my neck. And I'll look at it, like before I even blend it out, I'll look at it. You can immediately see if it's too orange or if it's too yellow. Lighting in the stores has a lot to do with whether or not you got the right color. So when you're color matching, you don't want to trust the lighting, like swatch it, walk out of the store, look at the lighting outside of the store, and see if that's the right color for you. It can be tricky when you're shopping at a drugstore because they don't have testers. So that's when knowing your undertones is actually really handy. Undertones is very crucial when you're trying to pick out a foundation. There are 3 kinds of undertones. There's cool, warm, and neutral. The way that you find which undertone you are is I have 2 ways that I'm going to be sharing with you. Both of these ways have worked for me and they've worked for anyone else that I've helped match their foundation. So the first way is to look at your veins. If your veins look blue, then you are cool toned, which means that when you're shopping for foundations or concealers, you really want to get a foundation or concealer that has that pink undertone. If your veins look green, that means that you're warm toned. So when you're looking for your foundation, you want to look for foundations that are yellow or that have a description of yellow, peach, or gold, because that's what's going to match your skin best. Now, if you see a mixture of yellow and green, like maybe purple, a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue, green, whatever, then that means you're neutral undertones, and a lot of times foundations will say when it's neutral. So if you're a neutral undertone, the foundation description will literally say neutral. If you still don't know after looking at your veins, then the next would be the jewelry test. If you look better in silver jewelry, then you are cool toned. If you look better in gold jewelry, then you're warm toned. If you look good in both, then you're neutral. If you still don't know which foundation undertone you are, then that means that you must be neutral toned, because you can't decide, you must have a little bit of both. So if you don't know, try a neutral, and if that works for you, then you're neutral. So now that we've talked about undertones and color matching, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss some tools that are helpful for applying foundation. Do not use your fingers. That will not blend your foundation out. It'll make you look streaky, and you don't want that. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is beauty sponges. I love beauty sponges. This is like my go-to for blending out my foundation. The first one is the Real Techniques beauty sponge. You can find this at Ulta, Target. I love these. This is like my second favorite beauty sponge to use other than the Beauty Blender. Only reason I don't use the Beauty Blender as much is because it's really expensive to like replace and keep replacing. So I'd rather get something like this from Ulta, and they have sales a lot of the time where it'd be like buy one, get one 50%. Next, I have the Eco Tools beauty sponge. This is like $3 and you can find it at Target. I like this one because it has a flat edge so you can like bake or use your powder, you know. And then I like the really poofy bottom, the really round bottom to blend out my foundation and stuff like that, you know. This one is just from Eco Tools. It's really inexpensive. It expands a lot and it's not dense, which means that you'll be able to blend it out really well. Next, I have the Morphe beauty sponge. I love, love, love this. This and the Real Techniques are so comparable. It does do the job, and it retails for $7 on the Morphe website. And then last but not least, I have a beauty blender. I used mine today, so it looks gross, but the beauty blender is amazing. It's literally not dense at all, which is great because you can literally blend everything. Next, I have foundation brushes. So one of my favorite foundation brushes is one from Morphe, and it is the Morphe M439 brush. It's very dense and it's like a buffer, so it literally just blends out your foundation. Next, I have this dense stippling brush from Crown Brushes. I don't know the name, it rubbed off, but I like to use this when applying powder foundation because I like to use this to press it into my skin, especially in my under eye area to kind of set my concealer. Next would be like a stippling brush. So these are two that I use. I like to do this when I want very light coverage and I'm mixing my like moisturizer with my foundation. I like to use this because it's just very lightweight and easy to blend, and it doesn't make my skin feel heavy. Very briefly, before I get into my foundation recommendations to you guys, I'm going to talk about foundation coverage. Like I mentioned, the different types of foundations also have different types of coverage, and you will pick the coverage based on your skin type. So they have light coverage foundation, they have light to medium, they have medium, and then they have full coverage. So the full coverage is obviously going to feel like the heaviest, and it's going to cover the most. Now I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite foundations and what I would recommend for beginners. Powder foundation, which has become my new obsession, is from Maybelline, and it's the Fit Me Set and Smooth Normal to Dry in Classic Ivory. I like the Fit Me brand because it specifies what the powder is for. Like this one is for normal to dry, and I have dry skin. And then they also have one for oily skin, so I like that they classify it like that. Next, I'm going to talk to you guys about stick foundations. Now, if you're going to try any foundation stick, I would highly recommend the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation stick. It is highly raved about, and that's for a reason. There's no flashback with this stick. It comes with a hefty amount of product, and it has a lot of shades, so it's easier to color match. All of my liquid foundations except for one are drugstore because I love the drugstore quality of liquid foundations. So the only one that I have that's not drugstore is the Fenty Beauty foundation, which is a soft matte foundation. This foundation will work amazing on anyone who has oily skin, combination oily, combination, or normal. If you have dry skin, be very careful with this because it does mattify you a lot, and it does make your skin look drier than it is. Also, it dries very quickly, and if your skin is already dry, you're gonna have a really hard time blending it out. She has a ton of different shades, so literally there's a shade for everyone out there with the Fenty Beauty. My ultimate favorite liquid foundation is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. I would recommend that you guys try this brand out, especially if you're a beginner. You're gonna fall in love, you're gonna love this. If you're very oily, Pro Glow would not work for you, but they have a Pro Matte, which is their formula is probably amazing. I haven't tried it, but the Pro Glow is amazing. It makes your skin look so dewy. Medium coverage, but you can build it up. It's very lightweight, which is great because it's not going to emphasize any texture. It's not going to feel heavy. It's not going to feel oily, and it makes you look very glowy. Next all-time favorite drugstore foundation is the Maybelline Super Stay foundation. One thing I will say about the Super Stay is that it runs dark. So usually I'm the shade 120 in Maybelline foundations. This one I'm the shade 112 because 120 was too dark for me. And I got Natural Ivory, which is a neutral undertone. This is a full coverage foundation. It's long lasting. It says that it lasts up to 24 hours. It's matte, but it's not super matte like the Fenty one. It's oil free, so if you have oily skin, combination oily, combination normal, or normal to dry, it will work for you. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I like to apply my foundation. I'm gonna do a beauty blender application on half of my face, and then on the other half I'm gonna use a brush, and I'm gonna show you guys how I apply my foundation, like a little demo basically. If you'd like to see that quick demo, then just keep on watching. The first thing that I like to do is prep my skin for foundation. So I have some micellar water in this little container, and I'm just taking a cotton pad and pumping some micellar water and then cleansing my face. I like to do this because it removes any like extra dirt and debris that I missed from washing my face. And I take some toner. I have toner in this little container, and I do the same exact thing and put that all over my face to tighten my pores. So now that I've done that, I like to moisturize my skin because I have dry skin, and even if you don't have dry skin, even if you have oily skin, it's still good to moisturize your skin. Just taking some eye cream because the eye area is very delicate, so I'm just gonna moisturize that very quickly. So I'm just taking my Farsali Unicorn Essence Serum Drops just to moisturize my skin a little bit more, and I like to apply a little bit of that. And then lastly, I'm just using a little bit of my Peter Thomas Roth Mineral Rich Moisturizer just to moisturize my skin a little bit more since I'm going to be putting product on my face. The next step after I moisturize is that I like to use a primer. If you haven't seen my Primers 101 video, once again, it'll be linked up above in a card, but the primer that I am using today is the Dewy Face Primer from Wet n Wild. I've been obsessed with this stuff, guys. So I'm just going to take a little bit and put that all over my skin, and this will prep my skin for the foundation. As you can see, the primer that I used was a dewy primer, and my skin does look very dewy right now. And the reason I like to use a dewy primer is because I have dry skin, so I like to look dewy rather than matte. So the foundation that I'm going to be using in the demo is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. I did mention this foundation, and this is my favorite foundation. This is a foundation that makes my skin look dewy, and I love combining it with the Wet n Wild Dewy Primer because it just makes my skin look so radiant. The way I like to apply foundation, because I don't need a lot, I don't like a lot, I don't like my skin to feel heavy, is that I will put a little bit on the back of my hand and I will dot the foundation on my skin. As I mentioned in the video, I'm going to be using a beauty blender for half of my face and a brush for the other half. So I'm going to be using the Real Technique sponge that I mentioned, and I'm going to use it on this half to blend it out. So what I like to do, you have to make sure that your beauty blender or your beauty sponge is wet. So run it under the water, squeeze it, get all the water out, and it should expand. And you just want to pounce it on your skin. And then don't forget to get your hairline and your ears and down your neck. For the other side with the brush, I'm going to be using the Morphe M439 brush, and you just want to buff it into your skin. Both sides in the application look very similar, but I prefer using a beauty blender because I feel like it gives it more of a flawless application look, like it looks more airbrushed. I like to set my foundation using the stippling brush that I mentioned, and I'm using the Fit Me Powder Foundation in the shade 120. So I will just take some and then I will just pat it into my skin to kind of set it. You don't want to rub it because then you're kind of like taking your foundation off, so you just want to pat it. And if you are someone who gets very oily, you want to make sure that you're setting your foundation where you're getting very oily so that it doesn't crease throughout the day. I just like to pat mine in. I don't get oily, but I like to pat mine in to make sure that it doesn't crease. Also, if you don't want to use a powder foundation, you can also use a loose powder. This is just the Airspun. You can find it at Walmart. This is a translucent powder and it doesn't have any flashback. This is just how I like to apply my foundation. I hope that this video helped you and gave you kind of an idea of what you can do to better improve your foundation application. I hope that you guys found this video very helpful. I hope that you guys go try some foundation, especially if you're a beginner. Don't be scared. If you color match wrong, you can exchange it. Don't forget to check out my skincare 101 and my primers 101 so that you have the steps before foundation and you know how to best pick a foundation for your skin. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting a concealers 101 next, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
I'll be outside, I'll be on the way. I'll be on the way, you can beat me at 5. I'll be on 9, I'll be on all day.